Hi friends. Today's topic, my friends, it's a very important one. It's about funds and credit for rice business. ये जो चावल के बिजनेस में बहुत हमको सजेशंस आए हैं, कमेंट्स आए हैं कि हम ये टॉपिक को और थोड़े डीप होके थोड़ा बहुत नॉलेज शेयर करें। तो डायरेक्टली टॉपिक पे आते हैं। सो जब कभी भी जब हम एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं या डोमेस्टिक बिजनेस के लिए हम ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, तो नॉर्मली इसमें जो राइस मिलर्स रहते हैं, दे ऑलरेडी हैव देयर सोर्स ऑफ फंडिंग। बिकॉज अगर कोई अपना खुद का मिल राइस मिल डालते हैं तो उसमें करोड़ों की पैसा लगती है, एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ मनी विच गोज इनटू सेटिंग अप अ राइस मिल, and they also have a credit line from their bank for buying of paddy and stocking of paddy, and then they make money as they keep selling the rice, right? लेकिन ये जो जर्नी में सबसे ज्यादा जो है फंड के लिए जो मुश्किलें फेस करते हैं, दे आर नॉर्मली राइस ट्रेडर्स, राइस होलसेलर्स, एक्सपोर्टर्स। ये these kind of businesses normally actually face challenge of funds। और सबसे ज्यादा अकॉर्डिंग टू मी जो फंड्स का या फंडिंग का चैलेंज जिनको होता है वो है राइस एक्सपोर्टर्स। क्यों, मैं बताऊंगा। क्या होता है कि एक्सपोर्ट एक ऐसे बिजनेस है जहां जहां पे यू कैन ग्रो एट एनी टाइम। जो क्या होता है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू आर एक्सपोर्टिंग राइस टू से ओमान और से दुबई, राइट? तो आप एक कंटेनर, दो कंटेनर आप इजिली कर पाते हो। लेकिन बायर को आपका काम अच्छा लगता है, यू कीप डूइंग वेल, then you find more buyers, and every buyer says okay, you ship 2 containers or 3 containers। फिर आपका जो एग्जिस्टिंग बायर है वो बोल देता है आपको 5 कंटेनर दे दो, 10 कंटेनर दे दो। जब वॉल्यूम बढ़ता है तो दैट इज व्हेन एक्सपोर्टर्स फेस अ लॉट ऑफ चैलेंज इन टर्म्स ऑफ फंडिंग। क्योंकि अगर लगभग समझो फॉर एग्जांपल एक कंटेनर जो 25 टन चावल के लिए अगर आपको 8 lakhs लगेगा, वही 10 कंटेनर किसी ने ऑर्डर किया तो आपको लगभग 80 lakhs का फंड्स का जरूरत होता है। सो नॉर्मली लॉट ऑफ राइस एक्सपोर्टर्स देन वो क्या होता है कि वो चैलेंज में आ जाते हैं कि सेल्स तो मुझे मिल रहा है बट हाउ डू आई मैनेज फंडिंग, क्योंकि मिलर्स को पेमेंट करना होता है। बहुत टाइम में क्या होता है कि मिलर्स यू हैव टू पे दैट मनी ओनली देन दे विल डिस्पैच द ट्रक और दे विल रिलीज द ट्रक, राइट? तो वो उतना कैश आपको चाहिए रहता है, right? So if you are talking to a buyer, he says 10 containers, then 80 lakhs to, depending on the rice, if it is basmati for example, आपको 1 crore का फंडिंग आपके हाथ में होना चाहिए, आपके बैंक अकाउंट में होना चाहिए। सो दिस प्रॉब्लम इज व्हाट नॉर्मली इज फेस्ड एंड हाउ टू ओवरकम दैट, वो अब हम डिस्कस करेंगे। और ये जो फील्ड में राइस एक्सपोर्ट के फील्ड में जो कोई भी है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर फेसिंग सिमिलर सिचुएशंस, राइट? तो ये हुआ राइस एक्सपोर्टर का चैलेंज। राइस ट्रेडर का चैलेंज में आ जाते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप आपके गांव में या शहर में आप एक छोटा सा कस्टमर बेस बना के अपने बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, वेयर यू आर गेटिंग राइस, फॉर एग्जांपल से अगर आप पुणे में हैं और आप उधर चावल का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे हैं और आप मंगा रहे हैं बासमती फ्रॉम पंजाब, और यू आर गेटिंग से फॉर एग्जांपल सोना मसूरी राइस फ्रॉम कर्नाटका, तो वहीं पे वहाँ वहाँ पे भी क्या होता है, द देयर व्हाट ट्रेडर्स एंड होलसेलर्स फेस अ चैलेंज इज दैट आपको एक ट्रक, फॉर एग्जांपल एक ट्रक मंगाना होता है, फिर उसको आपको स्टॉक करके रेगुलर सप्लाईज यू कीप ऑन गिविंग टू ट्रेडर्स, अदर ट्रेडर्स, रिटेलर, शॉप्स एक्सेट्रा, राइट? तो वहीं पे भी क्या होता है, यू हैव टू पे टू द राइस मिलर एंड देन वेट फॉर द पेमेंट टू कम। In this, what happens is, in the local business, the payment takes 30 days time, 45 days time, 60 days time, based on the payment terms, right? तो यहीं पे भी वही चैलेंज, इफ यू सी डोमेस्टिक में भी वही चैलेंज है। बट मैं एक बात बताना चाहूंगा दोस्तों, इज दैट दोनों इसमें विच इज सेफर एंड बेटर इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैनेजिंग द फंड्स, इज मैं हमेशा बोलूंगा कि वो है एक्सपोर्ट के लिए। एक्सपोर्ट वाकई ही, इफ यू सी दैट, अगर फंड रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ ऑर्डर साइज ही बहुत बड़ा होता है, बट एक्सपोर्ट्स में एक टाइमलाइन रहता है। आप अगर आप सोचोगे कि आई एम गोइंग टू एक्सपोर्ट दिस राइस टू से दुबई, एंड आप सब एक कैलकुलेशन करते हो कि मिल से आप लेके जाओगे पोर्ट, पोर्ट मतलब सीएफएस में आप लेके जाओगे, वहां पे काम होगा 3-4 दिन का, कंटेनर स्टफिंग होगा, यू विल गेट द बीएल। बीएल के बाद इतने दिन में कार्गो पहुंचेगा दुबई, एंड देन बीएल के ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ बीएल आपका पेमेंट है, सो देन यू विल गेट द पेमेंट। सो यू आर एक्चुअली एबल टू मेक अ टेंटेटिव कैलकुलेशन ऑन द नंबर ऑफ डेज दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर योर पेमेंट इनकमिंग, राइट? बट डोमेस्टिक में ये एक चैलेंज है कि अगर आप डोमेस्टिक में किसी को सप्लाई करते हो, इट इज नॉट उधर आपका पेमेंट टर्म्स बहुत बार 30 डेज होता है, 45 डेज होता है, और जब 30 डेज बोलते हैं तो वो नॉर्मली 30 डेज में नहीं आता है, इट विल टेक से अनदर 10 डेज 15 डेज, तो ये चलता रहता है। बट इन एक्सपोर्ट ऐसा नहीं होता है। Majority of the time you are not giving credit to the buyer anywhere in the country, so what you are doing is your payment is based on the BL, right? तो BL के टाइम पे क्या होता है कि you were very assured of the payment, right? मैं एक रफ कैलकुलेशन करता हूँ आपको, जो क्रेडिट टर्म्स चाहिए फॉर एग्जांपल इन टर्म्स ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट्स, राइट? हम दुबई का ही एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं, राइट? सो अगर रायचूर कर्नाटक से आप चावल खरीद रहे हैं फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट? तो वहां से माल निकला, you have paid the miller for example, now let's count number of days in which your payment will come, सही, right? So the cargo has left maximum 2 days में वो मुंबई पहुंचा है, right? So 2 days to reach मुंबई। वहां पे एक कम से कम 4 दिन तो पकड़िए आप, the cargo has to be unloaded, ट्रांसफर इनटू कंटेनर, वहाँ पे इंस्पेक्शन होगा, वहाँ पे फ्यूमिगेशन होगा, अगर आपने थर्ड पार्टी इंस्पेक्शन अरेंज किया तो वो होगा। सो टेक मैक्सिमम ऑफ 4 to 5 days there, right? So 2 days for local transport, 5 days for port CFS operations, that is 1 week. Say 1 week to 8th or 9th day, because somewhere Saturday and Sunday will come in between. So assume that 10th day you have your BL in your hand, right? So 10 days में आपके पास BL है। Now the vessel will take, say for example 7 days to reach Dubai Jebel Ali port, right? डिपेंड्स आप कौन सा पोर्ट से एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो, वो डिपेंड करता है। अगर रायचूर है तो मुंबई पोर्ट हमने लिया है। अगर कभी कभी क्या होता है, IR64 आप कर रहे हो छत्तीसगढ़ से, कभी आप शायद विशाखापट्टनम पोर्ट लेके जाओगे, कभी कोलकाता से भी एक्सपोर्ट होता है। सो दिस डिपेंड्स, बट अदरवाइज if you are shipping from Mumbai to Jebel Ali, there is a line which will just reach in 3 to 4 days. There is also a line which will reach in 7 to 8 days. So assume that 3 to 4 days का ही वेसल पकड़ा आपने, right? तो 10 दिन तो आपको BL रिसीव करने में लगा, एंड देन यू हैव 4 days, मतलब बायर को पता है कि 4 दिन में कंटेनर यहाँ पहुंच रहे हैं दुबई, सो ही विल डेफिनेटली मेक द पेमेंट एज सुन एज पॉसिबल, ताकि you release or surrender the BL to him on time, so that he can also take out the containers on time, right? तो 5 दिन में मैक्सिमम आपका पेमेंट आ जाता है from the date of BL। तो 10 दिन और 5 दिन 15 दिन में आपका पेमेंट into your account। This is the kind of calculation, and ये क्या होता है, because buyer will not get the delivery of his cargo without making payment, you will not release the cargo, you will not surrender the BL without the payment, right? तो ये तो एक पक्का है कि पहले आप पैसा लेते हो, बाद में you release the BL। So this kind of a situation में 15 days लगता है, right? So 15 days is what you need to plan your funds for, right? So 15 days में वो पैसा आएगा and then you do another transaction. So this is how normally slowly people start making exports and start growing the export. But otherwise in terms of funds and credit, right, so this is a very little bit of sometimes easy and sometimes complex. I'll tell you why. My suggestion is that नॉर्मली whenever you work, right, आप किसी रीजन से आपको स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा, राइट. तो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने सोना मसूरी चावल एक्सपोर्ट से शुरू किया, तो देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज, आप एज यू कीप डूइंग बिजनेस विद द मिलर्स, एक ट्रांजैक्शन, दो ट्रांजैक्शन, तीन ट्रांजैक्शन के बाद यू वुड हैव, बिकॉज यू वुड हैव talk to the miller so many times that your miller will start understanding you and become he'll become your friend, right. So then there is a possibility that he will give you credit, right. He might ask you for a few might be a security check and some company copy of documents just for the purpose of understanding where your company is, what you are. But ये एक solution हो सकता है if you are not having bank funding. Otherwise the first option आपको क्या करना है कि first of all you have to understand that whether it is a domestic business or an export, rice export business, bank will not give you one single rupee if your company is a new company, right. अगर आपका new company है तो bank will not give any kind of funding. Second thing is that even if you require bank funding, they will need collateral from you. आपको आपका कुछ भी लैंड हो या प्रॉपर्टी हो, आपको मॉर्गेज करना पड़ेगा, आपको गिरवी रखना पड़ेगा बैंक के साथ. So that is when bank will give you a credit line, say 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 20% value of your property or whatever calculation उसके ऊपर देते हैं. With that money what you do is, if you are having 20 lakhs, then you know that you can buy around 20 2 containers and do business in that and gradually increase. But with the bank funding, if you have collateral, only then it works. Even if you are a company of 5 years and your balance sheet is good, non-collateral based funding will be very very difficult. So I would say if you don't have collateral, if you are unable to arrange that kind of a money, even if it is an LC, nobody will give you funding on LC, because LC is we have made a separate view on LC that you need to understand, is that on LC you will only get funding once you have shipped, put the documents into your bank, the documents gone to the buyer bank, the customer comes to his bank and signs the documents, approves the documents. Only then your bank will release funding to you. Even if it is a 30 days LC or a 40 days LC, they will discount your LC, but only after the customer has signed it. So वहीं पे भी same situation है. So for you to pay beforehand, before the truck leaves the mill, that is the problem that you have to solve, right? So my best advice is that if only the miller and you can work together like a team, and only then the support is possible, is what I feel according to me, right? So how to do this now? If you have done some 3 to 4 transactions with the miller and you have become understood your wavelength of dealing with each other, so he becomes happy, and then you say that अरे 10 कंटेनर का ऑर्डर है, पहले हम सिर्फ 5 करते थे, and slowly he will start to support, to help, to give you that 15 to 20 days credit terms. And it is very much possible, but that is the only one opportunity miller will give you. You have to stick to your payment terms, and then the possibilities can be very huge. But there is one more thing that you need to keep in mind here, which is when you're working on a rice business, your customer might say that he wants Sona Masuri rice, he might say he wants Kolam rice, he might say he wants Basmati rice. So you know that this is not going to come from one mill itself or one region itself, right? So Sona Masuri, you will have to work with a miller in Karnataka. For basmati, you have to work with the miller in Punjab or Haryana. For kolam, you'll have to work with the miller in Telangana. So which means that you have to convince multiple people. You would need multiple funds to manage these funds, right? So then this is the question as to how will you solve this, right? Even if it is say 2 containers each, so you want 4 containers, two of Sona Masuri, two of kolam, and two of basmati, right? Nobody, if you're a first timer, the PWIP platform can help you to identify rice, can help you identify millers, but when you make a booking, it is you have to have your facility on funding ready. So this is what you need to understand first, as to decide as to how much will you you can how many containers that you can do, how many containers you can work. And also, if assume that you have 10 lakhs funding, this means that I would like to say how much sales you can do in a year, right? I have my calculator here. So we saw that 15 days is the, if you are doing for Dubai, somewhere between 15 to 20 days is your turnaround of whatever funds you have, right? Meaning if you pay the miller today, in the next 20 days you're going to get your funds back, right? So 365 days in a year divided by 20 is what you do, is 18.2, right? Which means 18.2 or 18 times you can do these transactions continuously, right? So 18 into what was your funding limit? You did of 10 lakh rupees. You're doing one container, say every 18 every 20 days you're doing one container. So at 10 containers, right, you are rotating that one container, sorry, you are rotating it 18 times, right? So your one container is worth 10 lakhs, for example. If you rotate 10 lakhs 18 times, right, so it is 180, which is 1.8 crores, right? So you can do an annual business of 1.8 crores in a year with just 10 lakhs funding that you have, because you will do 18 times. बट इट डिपेंड्स अगेन, इफ यू आर डूइंग, अगर आप कुछ और देश के लिए कर रहे हैं एंड देन द 20 डेज में जो पेमेंट आपका आता है वो शायद 35-40 डेज में आता है, देन यू हैव टू डिवाइड 365 डेज बाय 40 डेज और 30 डेज, राइट? तो दिस इज द वे इन विच यू वर्क. सो नॉर्मली 45 डेज, बाकी देशों में 45 डेज भी लगते हैं. सो 365 divided by 45 days is roughly about 8 times, meaning you can rotate your funds 8 times. So 10 lakhs into 8 times is 80 lakhs of worth of sales you can do in a year with the 10 lakh rupees. But if अगर आपको funding support miller से मिल जाता है, who will tell that you have 10 lakh rupees, you pay me 10 lakhs, but I will give you, instead of 1 containers, I will give you 3 containers. So then you have that 30 lakhs which you can rotate it other 18 times for such shipping to Dubai or any other country which is 35 or 40 days. So इसमें आपको प्लानिंग करना होता है. So start with very small. So what I would suggest as a normal course is that आप always when you're starting as an exporter, you start with 1 container, you start with 2 containers, that's it. You learn the business first, right? So that is how you do. But otherwise, without any collateral, bank will not give you funding. There are products like export packing credit. There are products, other products like OD limits that the bank gives, but it is all based on your collateral that you give. There are schemes in public sector banks, CGT, SME scheme and all, which you can push. It is very difficult to get, the bankers don't want to actually give you that, but it's a very complex way of getting funding. From the buyer, normally the advance of 10% or 20% is received only for orders for African countries, but normally nowadays the advance, and it's for big orders. For smaller orders, 1 container, 2 containers, 3 containers, 5 containers, the advance is almost not existing anymore. Nobody gives advance nowadays for countries like say Singapore, Dubai, Oman, these kind of countries where you can quickly ship, right? तो क्योंकि बहुत सारे suppliers हैं, बहुत सारे suppliers देते रहते हैं. So I think coming back to the question, my friends, the main question was about funds, how much funds you need. So based on one containers or two containers or three containers, so it is 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs. So that is what you need to decide, and you have to start with that. In terms of credit from the millers, that is the only option of working one or two or three or four transactions with the miller, and the millers are the best people who can come out and help, right? So why do millers actually also do this, I will tell you, is because millers, what happens is in millers, during the harvest, during November, or say during summer harvest, right, April or May, what happens is the millers do buy a lot of paddy and stock it in within a warehouse, right? So they have a lot of stock of paddy which they would have bought from their own limits of credit line from their banker, right? So they have paid already to farmers and they have bought the paddy and they have stocked it. Now what happens is, if the paddy is lying with them, it does not generate any money, right? The paddy will generate money only when they mill it, sell it, and then the money will come to them. So it's in their benefit that they mill and send it out to the market, so that the money will come, right? But also that is why they want to take a little bit of risk and see, instead of instead of selling 25 tons, they would want to sell say 50 or 100 tons and see that money converts faster. That is why sometimes the millers take risk. The second thing is that just because they take risk also is that they also want to mill paddy in the machine, in the rice mill, which can generate cash to them faster. Which means if there are two customers buying from the same mill, one person is 5 containers and 5 containers, but one container pays early, just at the time of loading. So he will always give preference to because his mill has to run for that order which will generate cash quickly, and he will slow down for that customer in which the payment will come after 30 days or something, right? तो ये इसको भी आपको समझना होता है. So otherwise, as of and funds and credit, the millers are the best people who can help you. Otherwise, nowadays for exports, there is another instrument that has come, which is export trade finance companies. ये इसको फैक्टरिंग बोलते हैं. सो फैक्टरिंग में क्या होता है, there are few companies which I have come across. One is a company called Drip Capital, one is a company called Seawise Capital, one is a company called Prima Dollar. There are a few companies like this. I would like to name 3 companies which I named, which is Drip Capital, Seawise Capital, and Prima Dollar. These are the 3 companies which do export bill discounting. What is export bill discounting is that you say, for example, you are the exporter, you have a buyer in, for example, in Dubai, right? The buyer says my payment terms is say 30 days, for example, but the buyer is very good, for example, right? So then what happens is you approach these companies like Drip or Seawise or Prima Dollar, these kind of companies. You tell them that I have a buyer with me, this is the order that I have, I want bill discounting. So what they will do is that you will have to convince your buyer that you are going to do bill discounting. So what will happen is you have to, once you get the BL, so you have to show the BL to this company. This is export bill discounting company. They will discount the bill for you, meaning they will pay you 80% in US dollars itself. They will pay in US dollars itself. So they will pay you 80% of the money, and that invoice will be assigned to them, and it will be also communicated to the buyer in Dubai. So what the 20% is being held by them. When the buyer in Dubai has to make the payment, he cannot make payment directly to you. He will make payment to the trade finance company in US dollars, the whole payment. And once he makes the whole payment, then at the end of 30 days, then this export trade finance will release the balance 20% to you, minus the interest cost for that 30 days, right? The interest component is very minimum, my friends, compared to the bank interest, right? So agar bank interest is, for example, even if it's not export trade packing credit, if it's a normal OD account or something, the interest rate is somewhere around 10%, 11%, and 12 or 12%, right? Yeah, this export trade finance will give you for somewhere between 5 to 6% or 4 to 6% actually annually, right? So it will come very, it's a very minimum interest rate, even lesser than from your bank, because they raise money from foreign countries, and your payment also comes in foreign US dollars, right? तो ये एक ऑप्शन है. But ये in export bill discounting, there are two things that important that you have to note, which is the buyer has to agree for this. The buyer might say that no, I'm not going to pay to another company or another trade finance. If I'm exporting, if I'm importing from you, from your company in India, I will want to pay directly to your company, because my bank will not allow it, because I also have banking limits of from my bank, and my bank will not allow the payment going to some third party finance company, and not going to the exporter from India directly. But a lot of people in the export import business know about this export trade finance and bill discounting. बट स्टिल देयर इज रेजिस्टेंस. आप सब लोग मानते नहीं है, बट कुछ लोग मानेंगे और आपको सपोर्ट करेंगे, तो ये बहुत इजीली हो सकता है. और ये जो है, इट डज नॉट नेसेसरली हैव टू बी फॉर क्रेडिट ट्रांजैक्शन इटसेल्फ. से फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर शिपिंग टू यूएस, जिसमें बीएल में तो मिलता है आपको, बट शिप पहुंचने में 40 दिन लगते हैं, राइट? तो कस्टमर 40 दिन का 5 दिन पहले करेगा, सो यू स्टिल हैव टू वेट फॉर 35 days मोर, राइट? तो वो केस में भी आप बिल डिस्काउंटिंग यूज कर सकते हो, where this company will give you 80% of the money and do. And the second point what I have to tell you is that this trade finance company they will not fund you for the first transaction between two companies. Meaning, अगर वो एक नया buyer है, वो buyer बहुत अच्छा भी हो सकता है credential wise, but if your transaction is for the first time with that buyer, they will not fund the first invoice. They will want minimum 2 or 3 invoices to have happened between the seller and the buyer, and you should have collected the payment for that, and there should be no any problem in that transactions. And then they will think that the buyer and the seller are comfortable with each other, the quality, everything is okay, they can do business together. So for the 4th invoice onwards, they will say we will fund for you, and they will set a limit. They will say that okay, we will give you, for example, say 1 crore limit for this particular buyer. You can ship up to 1 crore to this buyer, and if the payment comes, and then again you can keep shipping, meaning you will keep shipping some 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, payment will come. So you can't just cross that 1 crore, that's it. Otherwise you can keep shipping and managing this. This could be one good option. Your buyer should agree, and you should have had 2 or 3 transactions already with the buyer. So again, companies are Drip Capital, C-Wise Capital, and Prima Dollar. This is one funding for exporters, right? But for domestic business, the problem is, if you are supplying to a reputed or a big company like a Tata, or like say you're supplying to ID Fresh company, or supplying to Britannia, or some, say for example Aditya Birla, right? So in local this thing also, there is bill discounting possible. There is a company called Samunnati Agri Finance which does this. There is also Aditya Birla Finance which gets into this. So because they know the customers are reputed, like Aditya Birla, Tata, ID Fresh, Britannia, for example, these kind of companies are reputed companies. And their payment terms is, for example, say 15, 20 or 30 or whatever, 45 days. So then they will in domestic also they will give you funding. So Samunnati Agri Finance, my friends, you can search for it. They are also called as SAMFIN, SAM. So Samunnati Agri Finance is one company. Aditya Birla Finance also does this. So they do bill discounting similarly for you, right? So this could possibly be your option to work on this, right? Otherwise you will have to grow slowly, build one miller at a time. सोना मसूरी के लिए मिलर को आप सेट करो, he trusts you, then you gradually grow, then you go to Telangana, you Kolam, business you develop, then you go to Chhattisgarh IR64, you work with few millers, and then they start giving you credit, and then you go to Basmati for Punjab region, then you do this. So all this when you do, that is when slowly you will gradually be able to increase your scale, and then once they do that, then it becomes very easy to even do 50 to 100 containers a month, right? So this discussion has been mostly on exports. I would say, my friends, all of you who have not done exports or planning to get into rice business, exports is one of the safest and best business that you do. It's looks a bit difficult. We on our YouTube channel, how to make pricing, what are payment terms, how to find a buyer, we have made these kind of videos. Please do watch so that you get some knowledge on it, and then you can start on your own, right? Please note that India exports roughly around 50 to 60,000 crores worth of rice every year to different countries, right? In this 60,000 crore, it is equal between basmati and non-basmati, right? In non-basmati there are various rice like Sona Masuri, Kolam, Idli rice, IR64, Swarna, Brokens, and this kind of rice, right? I hope, my friends, this video has had added a little bit value into your learnings. Let's all learn together. Let's all keep talking. I don't have any comments as of now today, so if you have any comments, you please leave us your comments and suggestions, and so that we can keep making videos on this. Don't forget to study the rice first before getting into the export something. You need to find the rice. PWIP has a WhatsApp number which is 83177 49274. 83177 You just have to send a hi on WhatsApp. That's it, and then it will the WhatsApp will reply to you, and you can see prices of all India prices of Kolam, BPT, Sona Masuri, Basmati, IR64, Swarna, Parboiled, every rice prices that you can see there. Learn that, and then you can keep growing your business. Thank you so much for your time, friends. Let's connect next Saturday again. Thank you.